man. I do what I do.
You know, the whole thing of fresh and fit. You got this Arab East African who's acting as an avatar for white supremacy racism. And, you know, he's getting his comeuppance. You know, and this guy is not even, you know, he's not even an American that has been in this country for generation upon generation. It's my understanding he's a first generation African immigrant. And I believe his name, he calls himself Myron Gaines, but I think that's his Americanized name. But the bottom line is these people, they come in here, they exploit the racial differences between black Americans and white Americans. They act as avatars for the far right leaning bigots and racists. They generate a few dollars, a little popularity, and then we're left as Americans to have to clean up the mess. And that's unfortunate because you got these people who come in from overseas, who come in with their different ideologies and their different cultures. They see an opportunity to make money here in the United States, and they exploit it. There's no difference between what someone like Myron Gaines and this lady that they call Brick Lady, Rhoda Osman did. I believe it's her last name, Rhoda, I forget, I can't. But nevertheless, the Brick Lady, you guys may remember back in 2023, she alleged that a black man hit her with a brick. And in doing so, and for you all who are not aware, there's this common consensus, although misleading, that black men don't protect black women. And when they're talking about black women, they're referring to foundational black American women, which are women of African descent who can trace their roots back to prior to 1860, slave plantations, et cetera, et cetera. And so there's a clear difference between the foundational black American women who have roots that go back 200, 300 years and a new African immigrant like Rhoda Osman. Well, nevertheless, she recognized that there's this rift. She came in. She said a black man hit her. Apparently, she was in some sort of conflict, and it's my understanding, based on the police reports, that she tried to assault a man, and he defended himself. And so, because she didn't win that altercation, in other words, she tried to hit him. Apparently, there was something in her hand. He then hit her back with something in his hand, apparently a water bottle, and then she proceeded to enter onto the internet, go live, and talk about how none of these black men are defending her from a fight that she started. In other words, she wanted those black men to come in and fight this man who she tried to hit first. And the brother happens to be a black man from the United States, and I'm basing that solely on his last name. So this African immigrant woman from Somalia picked a fight with a black man from America. She tried to hit him. He hit her. And then she got mad because she lost the fight, or she probably didn't expect him to hit her back. And no other black men would jump in to save her, those who saw it, because she started. Nevertheless, she hopped on the internet and said, black men aren't protecting me. Black men aren't protecting black women. And in doing so, she exploited a rift between black people, foundational black Americans, and it caused just a cascade of issues. But this is the same thing these foreigners are doing. They're coming in here, they're causing trouble. They're coming in here, they're exploiting differences, whether they be race or sex or whatever. And if I can go back, that particular incident, it's not that Rhoda wanted black men to protect her. She basically wanted black men to come in and be her enforcers. It's the same thing that a lot of black women do when they call the police on black men. She loses an argument. She doesn't want to do something that he wants her to do, like get out of his house. She picks a fight, and then she calls the police on him. That's called blue leashing. Blue leashing. Somebody type hashtag blue leashing in the chat room. That's what that's called. But nevertheless, we have a culture here in the United States. Americans have a culture. We have a culture. White people, black people, and the Latinos who've been here for generation after generation, the Tejanos and the Chicanos We have a culture. The Asians who've been here. Some have relatives, Chinese that helped build the railroad tracks. The Japanese that have been here have relatives in the internment camps. The Native Americans we have a culture here. And when we start bringing in people from other overseas, they began to create issues. Because let me explain something to you. A lot of these people, just because they're your color, does not mean you share the same culture. There's a gentleman right now down in Miami, and what he does is, and this guy's from Poland somewhere, foreign white man, he goes around Miami, South Miami, interviewing people, asking mostly black people racially charged questions, and he takes the answer and he posts them up on the internet to push forward a narrative of ignorance and violence, et cetera, et cetera. And again, this man is a white man from Poland. He needs to go back to Poland with that. We have enough problems here in the United States without these outside agitators coming to our country causing problems. This is not a black country. It's not a white country. It's not a Latino country. This is a country for Americans. This is not an Asian country. When the white man got here, there were already brown people here. At no point was America a white ethno-state. And it's not one now, because as soon as they got here, they start importing Africans. And after the Africans, they start importing Asians from China. And then they start bringing up more black people from the Caribbean, and then Latinos to come help to do the work that needed to be done in this country. At no point will America be a white country. At no point was it ever a white country, irrespective of the delusion of the so-called founding fathers. Many of them had fathered children from women who weren't white, because that was all that was available. Women died young at childbirth. And so as a practical matter, you have a lot of so-called white people who have mixed heritage. Now, they may never admit it, but if the typical white American who's been in this country for any number of several generations, he or she will have Latino, or what we call indigenous, African, or Asian DNA, somewhere 8%. I think the typical white person has about 8% sub-Saharan African DNA in this country. So, you know, it's a delusion. But I say all that to say, you know, overt racism is going to cause people to have to wake up and have to pick a side. And so when you have people like Nick Fuentes being overtly racist, setting up a racially charged environment, it's going to get some pushback.